On the night of January 31st, 2019, Libby Squire had been out with her friends for a night of socializing and drinking in Hull, where she was studying philosophy at the University of Hull. The group attempted to enter a nightclub, but Libby, who was clearly intoxicated and struggling to stand or speak coherently, was refused entry by security staff. Her friends, concerned about her condition, decided to help her get home safely. They placed her in a taxi around 11:30 p.m., paid the fare in advance, and believed she would be safe once she arrived at her student home on Wellesley Avenue. However, for reasons still not fully known, Libby never entered her home. Instead, after the taxi dropped her off, she remained outside and began wandering the nearby streets. It was an especially cold night, with freezing temperatures that posed a risk to someone in her vulnerable state. She was intoxicated, disoriented, and alone, far from the protection of her friends or any safe environment. Over the next 30 to 45 minutes, CCTV footage captured Libby walking aimlessly around the area near Beverly Road, a busy main street in Hull. At one point, she was seen sitting on a bench, clearly distressed and struggling to stay upright. Multiple people walked past her during this time, with some noticing her presence but assuming she was just another drunken student trying to sober up after a night out. This critical period, where Libby was left alone, visibly vulnerable and exposed to danger, would ultimately lead to her crossing paths with her killer. Her isolation, state of intoxication, and the freezing conditions all played a devastating role in what would become one of the UK's most heartbreaking and high-profile murder cases in recent years. As the investigation into Libby Squire's disappearance progressed, CCTV footage became a vital tool in piecing together her final known movements. After she was last seen sitting on a bench near Beverly Road, the footage captured a silver Vauxhall Astra repeatedly circling the area at low speed. This vehicle belonged to Pawel Relowicz, a 24-year-old married man, father of two, and local butcher who lived nearby. Relowicz had no prior convictions, but a deeper investigation later uncovered a deeply disturbing criminal history that had gone unnoticed for years. Unknown to the public and even his own family, he had been committing sexually motivated crimes in the community, including voyeurism, secretly watching women through their windows as they changed clothes or showered; burglary, breaking into women's homes and stealing intimate items such as underwear and sex toys; public masturbation and indecent exposure, carrying out lewd acts in public areas. Despite multiple incidents being reported, he had avoided arrest due to the fragmented nature of the complaints and the lack of strong evidence tying them together. These earlier crimes painted a clear picture of escalating behavior, one that tragically culminated on the night he encountered Libby. On the CCTV, Relowicz is seen interacting with Libby near the bench where she had been sitting. Though it's unclear exactly what was said, he later claimed he was trying to help her. Instead, he lured her into his car, likely taking advantage of her confused and vulnerable state. This was the last time Libby was seen alive. Relowicz then drove her to Oak Road Playing Fields, a secluded and dark area nearby. Prosecutors later revealed that it was there he raped and murdered her, before discarding her body into the River Hull. The CCTV not only captured Relowicz's suspicious movements but also became the turning point in linking him directly to Libby's disappearance. Without that footage, authorities may never have discovered his long-standing pattern of predatory behavior or solved the tragic mystery of what happened to Libby Squire. Pawel Relowicz was, on the surface, an ordinary man, a 24-year-old married father of two, working as a butcher in Hull. He lived in a quiet residential neighborhood, and to outsiders, he appeared to be a hardworking family man. However, beneath this facade, Relowicz was harboring a dark and disturbing double life. For years, he had been committing sexually motivated offenses, often targeting young women in the local area. These crimes included voyeurism, peering through windows late at night to secretly watch women undressing or in intimate settings; burglary with sexual motives, breaking into homes not to steal valuables, but to take underwear, sex toys, and other personal items that he used for his own gratification; public indecency, exposing himself and masturbating in public spaces, particularly in places where women were likely to see him; Despite multiple reports being made to the police about a suspicious man engaging in these behaviors, Relowicz managed to avoid detection for a long time because the incidents were treated as isolated. There was no clear suspect profile, and he had never been formally charged for these acts prior to Libby's case. On the night of January 31st, 2019, Relowicz was driving aimlessly around the Beverly Road area, possibly looking for a victim, as he had done before. That night, he came across Libby Squire, who was clearly intoxicated, cold, and emotionally vulnerable, sitting alone on a bench. Using the pretense of offering help, he coaxed her into his car. She was in no state to resist or make rational decisions. Relowicz then drove Libby to Oak Road Playing Fields, a dark, deserted location near the River Hull. There, away from public view, he raped her and, according to the prosecution, killed her shortly after. He later claimed in court that she had left the car alive, but evidence and timing from CCTV and mobile data told a different story. After the crime, he disposed of her body in the River Hull, attempting to erase any trace of his actions. Libby remained missing for 7 agonizing weeks, during which her family and community held out hope. Tragically, on March 20, 2019, her body was discovered in the Humber Estuary, miles from where she was last seen. The autopsy revealed signs of hypothermia and drowning, but due to the length of time in the water, conclusive evidence of rape or other physical trauma had deteriorated. Still, a combination of forensic evidence, digital tracking, and witness testimony pointed squarely at Relowicz. This case ultimately exposed his hidden past and confirmed what investigators suspected. Libby's death was not a random act, but the culmination of years of unchecked, escalating predatory behavior. After being lured into Pawel Relowicz's car on the freezing night of January 31, 2019, Libby Squire was driven to Oak Road Playing Fields, a secluded, unlit area near the River Hull, known for its isolation. This location was not chosen randomly. Relowicz had previously frequented the area for his voyeuristic activities and likely knew it was a place where he could act without being seen. Once there, it is believed that Relowicz raped Libby, taking advantage of her vulnerable state. Although he later claimed in court that he left her alive and that she ran away, the evidence contradicted him. GPS and cell data showed that he remained in the area for a significant period, and when he finally left, he was seen on CCTV acting suspiciously and appearing distressed. The exact cause of Libby's death could not be definitively determined due to the condition of her body after weeks in the water. However, the prosecution argued that she was likely murdered or left to die in the freezing conditions following the violent assault. At the very least, it was established that she did not leave the area alive of her own accord. After the attack, Relowicz dumped her body into the River Hull, which carried her remains down into the Humber Estuary, a vast tidal body of water where the River Hull and River Ouse meet. For nearly 7 weeks, her disappearance remained a haunting mystery. Her family, the university, and the wider public held vigils and searched tirelessly, clinging to hope while fearing the worst. On March 20, 2019, their fears were confirmed when a passing ship spotted a body floating in the Humber Estuary. DNA testing later proved it was Libby. The discovery devastated her family and community and confirmed that she had been a victim of a brutal crime rather than a tragic accident or misadventure. The recovery of her body was a crucial moment in the case. While decomposition had limited the forensic evidence available, her clothing and the surrounding circumstances helped build the case against Relowicz. Her death was no longer just a disappearance. It was now formally a case of abduction, rape, and murder, committed by a predator who had managed to live undetected in the community for years. Libby's tragic fate underscored the dangers that can arise in moments of vulnerability and raised national awareness about predatory offenders hiding in plain sight. After Libby Squire vanished on the night of January 31, 2019, an extensive, high-profile search was launched that spanned over 7 weeks. Police combed through hundreds of hours of CCTV footage, interviewed witnesses, and conducted ground, river, and air searches. The local community, university students, and her family were deeply involved in search efforts, with emotional appeals made on national television. But despite their efforts, no trace of Libby was found for nearly 2 months. Then, on March 20th, 2019, a break in the case came when crew members aboard a ship spotted a body in the Humber estuary, not far from the coast of Spurn Point. Police recovered the body, and through DNA testing it was confirmed to be Libby Squire. Though decomposition due to prolonged exposure in water had damaged some forensic evidence, this tragic discovery provided the closure her family desperately needed, and it allowed police to formally escalate their investigation into a homicide. By this time, Pawel Relowicz had already been identified as a person of interest due to his suspicious activity on CCTV, his ownership of the car seen near Libby's last known location, and mobile phone data that placed him at Oak Road playing fields that night. When investigators searched his home, they found a stash of stolen intimate items, including women's underwear, sex toys, and other objects he had taken during a series of break-ins and voyeuristic activities. His digital devices revealed disturbing patterns. He had frequented pornographic websites involving non-consensual acts, and his Google search history included terms relating to rape and abduction. All of this, combined with the CCTV timeline, forensic findings, and witness testimonies, painted a damning picture. In February 2021, after a detailed trial at Sheffield Crown Court, Relowicz was found guilty of raping and murdering Libby Squire. The judge described him as a depraved and dangerous sexual predator, whose actions were part of a long and escalating pattern of deviance. He was sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum term of 27 years before he would even be eligible for parole. The sentence reflected both the horrific nature of the crime and the years of predatory behavior he had managed to conceal behind the mask of an ordinary family man. This conviction brought some sense of justice to Libby's devastated family and highlighted the urgent need for law enforcement to track and act on low-level sexual crimes, as they can often be early warning signs of much more serious offenses to come. Libby Squire's disappearance in January 2019 triggered one of the most extensive missing persons investigations ever conducted by Humberside Police. From the moment she was reported missing, officers, volunteers, and specialists worked tirelessly, reviewing over 1,300 hours of CCTV, conducting door-to-door inquiries, searching woodlands, rivers, and urban areas, and analyzing digital evidence, all in the desperate hope of bringing Libby home safely. When her body was discovered in March 2019, the case shifted from a search operation to a murder investigation, and attention quickly focused on Pawel Relowicz. Over the next 2 years, police meticulously gathered digital footprints, surveillance footage, forensic evidence, and psychological profiles to build a robust case. They traced his vehicle movements, phone location data, and behavior patterns to the timeline of Libby's final moments. What made this case particularly challenging was that Relowicz had no prior convictions. Though he had committed numerous offenses, they had gone unconnected. It wasn't until police dug deeper that they uncovered his long-standing pattern of sexually motivated crimes, which had flown under the radar for years. His arrest also led to charges related to burglary, voyeurism, and public indecency, finally revealing the true extent of his hidden criminal history. Despite his repeated lies and claims of innocence, the evidence was overwhelming. During his trial in early 2021, prosecutors presented a detailed account of the night Libby vanished, including CCTV footage showing his car circling the area, data proving he was at Oak Road playing fields, and disturbing items found in his possession. The jury found him guilty of rape and murder, and the judge handed him a life sentence with a minimum of 27 years. Libby's family, who had endured 2 years of anguish, finally received the justice they had fought for. Her mother, Libby Squire, became an outspoken advocate for raising awareness about sexual violence and the early signs of predatory behavior. She worked to highlight how crimes like voyeurism and stalking, often dismissed as minor, can escalate into devastating tragedies if not addressed. The successful conviction of Pawel Relowicz marked the end of a long and painful chapter, but it also served as a powerful reminder of the importance of persistent investigation, community vigilance, and the need for justice system reforms to protect vulnerable individuals before predators have the chance to strike.